more like we're low key going up right now. Like in the middle of those two times of the runner's world, calling them out, and with Ahmaud Abrey, I feel like we saw a shift in the world, but I feel like we saw like a complete shift in the running world as well, where people have tried to become more aware in every type of way, where it is to race, sexuality, or anything like that, where people are trying to come more together. What have you noticed so much from 2020, what, like March, April, since then to now, that has shifted so much in our little space in running?
Yeah, I think that overwhelmingly it's been a positive reaction, right? Like overwhelmingly, folks in the running industry are realizing, like, oh wow, whiteness really is centered in the running industry, right? Like, I know you're a cross country athlete, right? Like when you go to cross country events, it's like largely white people, white
Yeah.
kids running. The coaches are all white, right? Like then you look at brands, the CEOs are all white, and I think if you're white and you may, like, white people grow up with a privilege where they don't recognize that they're centered, right? Like that's part of white privilege. So I think this past year really opened up a lot of people's eyes to it, and the reaction has been positive. People have been really investing in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work. But the truth is, this is, as we say in the Running Industry Diversity Coalition, this is an ultra marathon with no medals, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
this is something the work that we're doing now is on the shoulders of folks of our ancestors who were protesting in the civil rights movement, and right, like, so this is not something that's going to be fixed quickly or easily, because it's systemic.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, like, lots of positive action, lots of folks making investments, both financially and emotionally and, labor wise, into trying to figure out how do we make running a place where anybody can just show up.
Yeah, and definitely, like we were just talking about on the podcast just like a couple weeks ago, how in running it is kind of centered. Like one of the biggest running figures I know from distance running that a whole brand was built off of was Steve Prefontaine, and I feel like that's still like this. He was a great dude, but his dude didn't even win medals. I mean, you have someone like Jesse Owens, like that's like the craziest American story, standing up to Hitler, winning 4 medals.
Exactly.
Like it's
Or like you
crazy,
think
but
about Ted Corbett, right? Like in terms of long distance running, and I know you all are in like the track
mhm,
and field world, but Ted Corbett was like he went to the Olympics for the marathon in 1952. Like he was running these 100-hour races. He established New York Road Runners. He was on the RRCA. Like you're talking about a legend, right? And why are there? I mean, there's one race named after him in New York. No medals associated with it. But why? Yeah, like why isn't he somebody who's enshrined, right? It's only recently, and it's because Black and brown folks are not centered in these spaces. But that's it. Yeah, that's, I always think about that too. I'm like Prefontaine, like, I mean, incredible athlete, but he was also only around for such a short time, right?
mhm.
Yes.
And it's just like I just imagine what would the running industry as a whole look like if it was built around someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like it would be completely different. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
would change the people who are getting sponsored. Those would change the people that are working internally. So
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy how these little things can affect a whole industry.